Hello, welcome to my TED Talk on cultural identity as a pathway to effective educational Indigenous leadership. My name is Jason Bear. I want to acknowledge that I'm in my home community of Muscogee First Nation, which is in Treaty 6 territory and home of the Métis. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna do a lot of reading, but not that I haven't tried to do this TED Talk with informally, but there's just too much time to like take the time to think about how you express things and do a good job of explaining the concepts that I feel are important to explain. So without further ado, my paper aimed to investigate possible connections between theories such as visionary leadership, transformational leadership, and key aspects of Indigenous leadership. The intent to seek within research or within my colleagues in leadership roles in Indigenous educational setting insight to furthering my understanding of relevant aspects which may create a more effective Indigenous leadership has revealed the importance that cultural identity serves to those leaders. As though as those in our cohort for the Masters Indigenous Educational Leadership class know, we participated in the Saskatchewan Principal Short Course to start each day. There were keynote panelists who spoke about their experiences as they related to the conference's theme: purpose, passion, and impact. A recurring theme amongst Indigenous speakers seemed to emerge for me. Each Indigenous speaker spoke about traditional teachings, cultural influences, or a person of influence such as a cook. These questions finally formed for me, uh, such as, sorry, can researchers use traditional values and teachings in concert with leadership styles such as visionary leadership or servant leadership to be sort of a template for furthering developing Indigenous leadership theory? When it comes to leadership, there tends to be commonalities to the many leadership styles in the study of leadership theory. For example, transformational leadership is characterized by a leader who works with subordinates to identify needed change, create a vision to guide the change through inspiration, and execute the change in unison with the committed members of a group. Anderson, 2017, page 1. I think that that's awesome, that comment, because it actually speaks to that piece about it being kind of unclear about leadership, because it talks about that's almost precisely what visionary leadership is, that piece between having a vision, having a why for that vision, getting your followership to buy into that why, and then having a path to achieve that. So perhaps the mark of differentiation between transformative leadership and visionary leadership is the inspiration for change. Operating under the premise that the alignment of goals and beliefs are distinguishing aspects that make and visionary leadership stand out and are also the same qualities of that offer other areas that connect with Indigenous leadership. Visionary leaders create a vision of action based on their experiences and the needs that they perceive within their followership. For educational leaders, this can be for teachers and by extension students. The model for change or vision attainment for educators is to affect the learning success in their schools. So this brings me back to the Principal Short Course. And when I first started thinking about this in our paper, um, because one of the things that I was thinking about was that identity and how important identity might be. And that theme kept popping up for me as I was listening to those speakers. And fortunately for me, I know a couple of those people on the panel, um, specifically Jackie DeRocher, who when I first started teaching at Buffalo Arrows, she was already teaching there. She taught my son kindergarten, which is awesome. Uh, so, I reached out to her. Actually, I reached out to a few different people, five specifically, five people that I worked with who were either colleagues or I was connected to somehow through my educational journey. And then I thought I would ask them some questions. All five of those people have many years in Indigenous leadership, and they're all educators that I actually look up to. So, so I asked when I asked Jackie, asked her several questions. I thought I should ask several other colleagues too. Mostly because I didn't want to have like a skewed understanding. I thought, like you sort of need a control if you're asking other people. You don't want to just have a hunch and say, "Oh, I'm going to ask Jackie all these questions, and I know she's going to answer them from my paper." So I asked a variety. I asked like 5 people, 4 of which responded in a timely enough fashion that I could put some of their comments into my paper. And the thing is, like, the comments were very, very deep, insightful. I found profound at times, and very educational for me. So I'd like to share only. I don't. Of course, we have time as a constraint, length as a constraint, as it is for my paper. I couldn't input all of the respondents' commentary into my paper. That's not just not possible. But there are some things I thought that were I should share with our group through this format. So I'm just going to read the first 5 questions are from Jackie, and then the next 3 questions are from Shane Henry. I could have chose any of the people's comments, but I think that these ones were pretty good, and they're diverse, like very different styles of style and voice. Um, so we'll start with Jackie in the first question. How would you characterize your leadership style? I would say that I'm a visionary leader. I need to know what I'm striving for and how and why. I believe that over time, leaders start to integrate many different leadership styles into their practice. Second question. Describe one or more of your fundamental beliefs regarding educational leadership. One of my core values is to be compassionate, understand the people you are serving in order to serve them well. Third question. Were there any traditional Indigenous values or teachings which you learned that you relied on while fulfilling your role as a leader? When I first started in leadership, I never thought about 2 ways of knowing: Indigenous ways of knowing and Western ways of knowing. I now have a better understanding of walking in 2 worlds. I can reflect on my leadership styles and how they were influenced by the traditional values I was raised with. One of the most important teachings that my cooking instilled in me is that we are all equal. Treat people with respect and never think you are more important than anyone. We all have a job to do. Respect everyone and their role that they have on your team. My Indigenous values were instilled in me and are a part of who I am as a leader. How important was conforming to Western colonized ways of thinking to the success of your role? This question falls with number 3. As Indigenous peoples, our values and our teachings are a part of who we are, and we're always walking in 2 worlds as leaders and making the 2 worlds work together. The Western ways of knowing can be learned from a textbook, but the Indigenous ways of knowing are values and teachings from our elders and families. Indigenous ways of knowing is teaching from the heart. That's awesome. What Fifth question? What may be one practice an Indigenous educational leader could do or employ to help decolonize educational spaces? Understanding who you are as an Indigenous person, understanding the impacts of colonialism, understanding the needs of Indigenous people that you are serving. What are the hurts of the past that need to be healed, and how can you, as a leader, be a part of that healing process? And these are from Shane Henry. They're kind of lengthy and I'm short on time, so I'm going to go fast. Question 7. Think of an Indigenous person you knew or know well, someone you feel was a teacher or a leader in your life. What is an important value or teaching they gave to you? An important value that an Indigenous leader in my life imparted to me is the understanding of interconnectedness and community. They emphasize the significance of fostering strong relationships and supporting one another, not just within the Indigenous community, but also with other communities. This teaching challenged the individualistic mindset promoted by neoliberal orthodoxy and highlighted the importance of collective well-being and collaboration. Additionally, they encouraged me to embrace my heritage, culture, and identity with pride, fostering a sense of decolonial resistance against attempts to erase or assimilate Indigenous knowledge and traditions. This leader's teachings continue to inspire me to challenge dominant narratives and celebrate diversity and work towards decolonizing systems that perpetuate inequality and marginalization. And then the last question I had was asked was about values and characteristics that are indicative of educational leadership. And Shane said, Tapawin and Sakahitowin, truth and love. These two principles, in my belief, form the foundation of effective leadership, particularly within Indigenous contexts. I argue that the other values and characteristics naturally emanate from the commitment to truth and the embodiment of love. Indigenous leadership, I propose, should be grounded in values and beliefs deeply connected to our language and identity. I don't know if I could say anything more than those things. That really does encapsulate way more than I could have come up with through research. And I think that was the value. The real value to this project for me was hearing all of these very deep, wistful, and thoughtful comments that I got. Like I can't share them all because I'm already at 10:32. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and your interest. And Echo say, oh, can't find my cursor, of course. Where's my cursor? 10:47, 10:48.